Hey, what is up guys? So we are going to be going over the top 10 plus most used cards in the competitive scene of Yu-Gi-Oh! Now these stats are mostly going to be from the OCG, however, there are some correlations, and the reason why I wanted to do top 10 plus most used, or like the best cards arguably, because these are what's seeing the most competitive wins. We don't actually have Maxi in the TCG, but it would be technically in the #1 spot because everyone plays multiple copies. Some of them we'll briefly talk about, but for the most part, yeah, Maxi is more relevant in the OCG because, well, it's actually banned in the TCG. Anyways, the next one up, would technically be at #2. I mean, it's Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Very, very good card. I don't really need to explain it. The meta hasn't really shifted. In fact, this card will probably be relevant till the end of time in Yu-Gi-Oh! With so many things searching out. Now, this is a more newer card here, but Called by the Grave kind of stops hand traps. I mean, there's going to be a lot of hand traps in here, in fact. Anyways, some of these cards are more relevant in the side deck as well, but Effect Failure is actually seeing quite a bit more play. Especially with some of the new Chaos stuff that's going to be coming out. Still a very solid card. And in fact, I want to say this card is actually really, really good because if you guys think about it, the Infinite and Permanence is almost the same. I mean, yeah, I'm aware that you could potentially stop a back row with this card as well. But for the most part, majority of the time, Effect Failure will almost do the same job. As, of course, the Infinite and Permanence. But it does happen to be a light, plus it's a tuner, so it has a little bit of extra utility there. Next up, Twin Twisters. This is more of an OCG thing, but it still definitely does see some play. Probably one of the best cards that we have access to. In fact, it's just great against like Pendulums and just a lot of different decks that would run multiple back row. Next up, though, we got Infinite and Permanence. Good card indeed. A lot of people are playing this. It's one of those cards where, like, if you have it against Gokis or even Effect Failure, sometimes they can still kind of power through if you have just one hand trap. So having another, like a double hand traps against a Gokis are definitely things that can improve your chances of not getting first turn nightmared locked out. But next up we have Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. Another card, I mean, like, it's just hand trap city, honestly. Next up, we have Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries. Very good card. I mean, it's pretty solid. Hits, obviously, things in the extract. In fact, since the recent winning of the Burning Abyss deck, this card has actually seen a lot more play, I would say, in the main deck. It can be a solid card, especially against some meta matchups, but against other random stuff, like, it absolutely does nothing. But definitely can give you some easy wins. The next card up is Needle Fiber over here. Now, this card, again, it's one of those where it's only in the OCG. That's why, again, we're doing a top 10 plus. But, I mean, this card is just absolutely insane. This and Firewall Dragon are just cards that will be really, really relevant, I think, throughout the entirety of Yu-Gi-Oh! Until, obviously, they get hit by the ban list. Next up, Link Kuriboh. There's a lot of decks that can make, obviously, pretty good use of it. A lot of decks that just have tokens. It's just, like, extra. I also do want to mention that there would technically be Sky Strikers on this, but I want to say because there's so many Sky Striker decks, the number is a little bit, like, inflated, if that kind of makes sense. I'm not saying that they're not good, but, like, Sky Strikers, they're specific to an archetype, and I wanted to make this list just to be about, like, more generic cards. Anyways, next up, Red Reboot. So this was actually a surprise to me. This was, I want to say, a newer edition. Last time when we talked about the top 10 best or most meta cards for competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Players, this card, yeah, it is a newer card. But anyways, it makes it so when your opponent activates a trap, you get to negate it. That's one thing that I guess Effect Failure would have over Infinite and Permanence. But for the most part, it's just used against like Spell Speed 3 stuff and negate it, they get to set another one. But this is kind of like a get rich or die trying kind of a card. Very, very bad if your opponent happens to survive for the next turn, because it's not going to be doing you too many favors, considering they can set another one and then they have to set that other card face down. But with Yu-Gi-Oh! Being so much faster, especially if you guys have played against that Burning Abyss deck, sometimes that deck can just beat you really, really fast with the Black Luster Soldiers. But this can kind of help you, well, if you're playing a very OTK-oriented deck, you can maybe try to outpace certain decks that would be in that category where they are actually really fast. And then the last card that I wanted to go over for my top list is Evenly Matched, which I mean, it's still a relevant card in the game. But anyways, yeah, that is it for the list, guys. If you guys want my source, I'll link it down below. But it is taking it from the OCG numbers. But a lot of stuff is very similar to the TCG. But again, I did want to only cover cards that any deck can play. So more generic cards, if you guys get what I'm saying. I'm not going to put archetype specifics. But you would probably put Engage as well as Hornet because, well, and getting the tokens for free is pretty good. But anyways, guys, that's the list. I was going to say, let me know your thoughts on it down below if you guys felt like there should have been other cards. In fact, Winged Dragon Raw Sphere Mode was actually seeing a lot of play. I was surprised that it was actually seeing so much play, but it is a good card. I mean, it deals with those break my boards kind of decks, but definitely some good cards. So if you guys need some extra cards in your extra deck, I'm sorry, in the side deck here, you can consider some of these cards if you have extra room, or if you guys just want to know what was competitive, because I like to keep up to date with what is considered competitive in a game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Yeah, anyways, that's the list, guys. Let me know your thoughts down below. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm signing out.